Hi, Cancer. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for September of 2022. We are the astrologers of Pandora Astrology. I'm Jamie Kale Miller. I'm in Berkeley, California.
I'm Julia Mijas in San Francisco, California.
Hey, Cancer. This month's skies mostly affect your local neighborhood happenings, your communications, and your home life. For general guidance, you can enlist the help of a natal and transit reading. You'll find a link to guide you to setting that up in the text that comes with this video. Well, Cancer, I want to begin with Juno retrograde, which is ongoing since July and won't be done until next month, late October. And this Juno retrograde thing is going on in your 9th house of meeting and broadening yourself. And so this is really an opportunity to re-examine your relationships of the past or the past of any committed relationships that you're in right now, relationships of some duration. And they can be business relationships, like with a partner, business partner, or a client that you've been seeing for some years, or they can be personal in terms of a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend. And this falling in your 9th house of meaning does suggest that you're asking yourself, what does this relationship really mean to me? And do I feel like this is a real soulmate? Like we have that kind of deep spiritual connection going on sort of behind this relationship all the time. And if you want to know more about this Juno retrograde period and how to handle it, you should check out our year of 2022 news playlist on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology. But I am going to return to this Juno a little bit later in the horoscope when I'm talking about the full moon that's absolutely going to play into this Juno retrograde period. But for now, I want to fling the conversational ball over to Julia, who's got some things to say about Mercury, Venus, and Mars. Take it away.
Well, hey there. Yeah, lots going on with Mercury this month. Mercury is going into 2 of your houses, and it's also going retrograde too. So Mercury is a planet that rules our mind. It can signify communication. Wherever we have Mercury, we can be very preoccupied. And Mercury starts the month in your 4th house of family and home. The 4th house also rules your past as well. So with Mercury in the 4th at the start of the month, you might notice that you're getting more texts and calls from your family members because those are ruled by Mercury. It could be a time where you're thinking a lot about your housing situation. Maybe you want to move, maybe you want to improve your home somehow, or you could also be very preoccupied with something from the past as well. And on September 10th, Mercury goes retrograde in this house. And when Mercury's retrograde, all that means is that from our perspective on Earth, it appears to be moving backwards in the sky. It's an optical illusion, but we astrologers find it very significant. And it's a time of sort of reviewing, rethinking, redoing all the things that Mercury represents in your chart. So in the 4th house, you may be having miscommunications with your family members. You might have to kind of go over conversations again, you know, or circle back to them, for example, especially if you guys are talking about something important. You could also be seriously reviewing something that happened a long time ago that's somehow affecting your present too. And if you were coming up with some plans and strategies around your housing situation, you might be going back on them now. You might be like, whoa, maybe I shouldn't move, or, you know, maybe I'm not ready to do this housing project or bring in a roommate, for example. Then as Mercury is moving backwards in the sky, it's going to enter your 3rd house. This is a house of short journeys, and Mercury is naturally associated with this house. So if you are taking any trips, you know, expect some delays and frustrations along the way. The 3rd house can also represent your commute. So if you're not, you know, if you're not signing in to work from home, like I know a lot of people are now, But there could be a lot of frustrations and stuff with your commutes too, with Mercury retrograde in the third. This retrograde cycle is going to finish up in October 2nd. So stay tuned next month to our videos, because we'll tell you what that's going to feel like and how that's going to affect you. Now, I'd like to say a few things about Venus. Everybody loves Venus because wherever we have her, we find harmony, we find peace, we find some pleasure, and even a little bit of luck. And on September 4th, Venus enters that third house of yours. Again, this is the house of, it rules writing, communication of all kinds. It also rules media. It also rules your neighbors and siblings. So if you do have any siblings, brothers or sisters, lovely time for getting along with them. It's also a wonderful time to be feeling very neighborly, where you really get some enjoyment and pleasure from your local community. Maybe there's some events happening at your local park that you want to go and visit and see. Venus in the third, if you have any writing that you need to get done, is a wonderful time for doing it, because you'll actually kind of enjoy the process. So if it's writing for school, your personal life, professional life, really great time. And it's a good time for using your words in a very diplomatic way as well. So if you are having those Mercury retrograde miscommunications, which we're all likely to have in some area of our life, Venus in your third is going to help give you a little bit more diplomacy to smooth that over. And Venus is going to enter Libra, which is your fourth house, on September 30th. It's the very end of the month, so we'll really, really cover that in a lot of depth next month too. Finally, I got to tell you about Mars. Mars is up to some interesting stuff because Mars is really slowing down this month. And that's all happening in your 12th house. So Mars will be going retrograde next month. This process happens about once every 2 years, so not as frequently as Mercury retrograde. But it happens. And so Mars is really going to spend a lot of time in your 12th house over the coming months. So Mars, wherever we have Mars, we can feel very driven, and it's a planet of action and activity. The 12th house is an isolated house. It is a house that rules your subconscious. It's a house that can rule charity, service work, spiritual work too. So Mars in the 12th house, this could be a time where you might feel very driven to spend time on your own. You might find your most energy and activity when you're on your own. So maybe instead of like going out to a gym around people or taking a workout class, you might rather just sort of work out at home. Or perhaps if you're doing work in your career, you doing it more on your own might be more suitable to you now with Mars in the 12th. Since the 12th has a kind of spiritual altruistic component to it, this can be a wonderful time for getting very active with your spirituality. This would be a wonderful transit for yoga, tai chi, that kind of stuff. It would be a wonderful transit for helping out in your community. Maybe if you have a local church, maybe if there's a nonprofit you're involved in, great constructive use of the transit. Now Mars can represent our anger, and the 12th house is kind of a hidden place. So it's also possible that you're not being very direct with your anger during this transit, that you're a lot more passive aggressive than usual. So Mars in the 12th house, can also signify that, maybe something happens and you don't think it upsets you. And then 3 or 4 days later, you find yourself all irritated out of the blue, because this house is just so mysterious and diffuse. It can kind of come out of nowhere. The best thing to remember with Mars in the 12th is to try to be as above board with your actions, because Mars in the 12th is going to be, you might feel a lot more inclined if someone's upsetting you to kind of talk about them behind their backs or be a little indirect with your actions, which can kind of lead into issues. So as long as you're just being as honest and above board with your actions, and maybe getting involved in something that is greater than you, because that is the truly higher side of the 12th house, all the things that are beyond us, greater than us, that will be, it can be a constructive and nice time.
Absolutely. I want to talk about this month's 2 moons, beginning with the full moon in Pisces, happening here on September 10th. And this moon plays into Juno's, Juno retrograde's retrospection period in our relationships. And that going on in your ninth house, as I mentioned before, this moon brings high emotion to that process. And while you're, feeling into this relationship and how deep is it, how spiritual is it, does it align with your spiritual value system, you may also be asking yourself, does it broaden you? And does it broaden you in ways that you want it to? And then the sun over here opposite the moon will be asking, and does it fit? How well does it fit with and balance my actual everyday life? Because like a spiritual connection is great, but if it doesn't ever ground in reality, I mean, how useful is that really? So I think a lot of big questions will be happening there. And all of this is while the sun continues to move along through Virgo, your third house, which I mentioned last month. It's always a good idea to shine the spotlight of your high quality attention in whatever region of the chart the sun is traveling through. And so you've been paying attention to communication, at least I hope you have. If you watched last month's horoscope, I would certainly have advised that. And then the sun moves on into the next sign, Libra, which is your fourth house, and this happens on September 23rd. When the sun moves into your fourth house, it's time to put that high quality attention on your home life and the people that you encounter there, your family members, and the cultivating of a wonderful nest for you all to share and be supported by. So the sun brings that into that theme up very strongly when it enters the fourth house, and attending to that arena is a really, really good idea, especially when the moon arrives here a couple of days later. Boom, there it is. And I just want to show the exact conjunction, sun and moon in the same degree, right about there. And so paying attention to family and home is really good while the sun is here. And when the moon arrives, it's a time to plant seeds that don't sprout right away, but will sprout in the future and need a little time to germinate. This particular moon we're calling calculated diplomacy versus boundless enthusiasm. Now, the reason we're calling it that is because this sun and moon in Libra are very diplomatic and very cerebral, bringing that theme to your arena of home, saying that you might want to be beautifying or decorating or peacemaking around your home during this moon. But at the same time, Jupiter over here is like a giant, friendly, but, not very careful or thoughtful golden retriever hanging out in your 10th house, bringing lots of enthusiasm to the career department, which might signal that you're actually in a career luck year. And if you are, it's really worth finding out what the bounds of that are, like when it begins, when it finishes, so that you can really take advantage of this growth opportunity in your career. But under this moon in particular, you might feel that the enthusiasm that's pulling you into the career realm is taking some energy away from your home life. And so balancing that is going to prove to be really important under this new moon. Well, that's what we have for you today, Cancer. You can always find your horoscope on our website, pandoraastrology.com, in the horoscope tab. And if you're interested to know more about this month's moons, check out the forecast tab on our website. And if you're curious to have a reading to find out more about how these influences land in your own chart, in your own specific timing, then check out the readings tab so you could get a reading with Julia or me. And I think I mentioned this before, but it doesn't hurt to say it again. If you want to know more about Juno retrograde, there is a year of 2022 news playlist on our YouTube channel, Pandora Astrology, with lots of great stuff in it. And until next time, we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye-bye.